you know that SAP HANA Cloud has unique capabilities that differentiate it from other cloud platforms, such as in-memory computing, advanced analytics and machine learning capabilities, unified data management, its seamless integration to other SAP solutions and services, just to name some. A very warm welcome to our session, SAP BTP Ask Me Anything, where you can ask all your questions about SAP HANA Cloud. Thank you for joining. I'm Tanya from the Global User Groups organization, and with me I have two experts whom I will introduce shortly. And in the background, there's an entire team waiting for your questions. We therefore invite you to actively engage by asking your questions in the chat and share your thoughts. I would like to ask you to ask complete questions and give the context. It will make it easier for our experts to answer your questions. And now I would like to share my slide deck in order to introduce our experts for today. So with me, I have Thomas Hammer and Shabana Samsudheen. Thomas is part of the SAP HANA Product Management Organization and responsible for SAP HANA Cloud. Prior to joining the Product Management Organization, he held different positions in the SAP HANA Development Organization. Shabana is also part of the SAP HANA Cloud Product Management and responsible for multi-model processing capabilities of SAP HANA Cloud, focusing on spatial, graph, JSON, document store, and vector engines. And with this, over to you, Shabana.
Thank you, Tanya. Yeah, I'm very, very glad to be here on the call. Happy to also talk a lot about HANA Cloud and the innovations in that area, and also this new innovation that we have. So first of all, maybe I'll just hand it over to Thomas to give a little bit of introductions about HANA Cloud and the innovations, and then we talk about the exciting innovation that we had in QRC1. Over to you, Thomas.
Yeah, thanks, Shabana, and I'm also super glad to be here. Now kind of opening up the room for a lot of questions that we hopefully receive from your end. So as Tanya was saying, please don't hesitate. And we shouldn't limit ourselves to multimodal while this is our focus for today. So you can ask everything related to HANA Cloud, data management, and we'll do our best to respond to that. But as Shabana was saying, there is one big great innovation that we have recently been able to introduce to HANA Cloud, and we're super glad and proud about that. And definitely we want to give you a bit of a recap about that. So let me maybe dive into just a little bit of slideware, and then we talk about HANA Cloud first. We give you a bit of background on, as said, those innovative topics we have introduced. And then we maybe give you a bit of a glimpse, or at least a tiny bit of outlook of what you can expect from the future. So just to set the scene and give you a bit of context about HANA Cloud, we're part for sure of the SAP Business Technology Platform as the service when it comes to storing, processing various types of data in one singular platform, being the foundation for any enterprise applications you develop yourself using the SAP runtime services like the Cloud Foundry Stack or the Kuma Stack. And that is super beneficial for your custom extensions to your SAP core applications, but also when you come up with new scenarios that benefit from external sources or that fuel what we classify as so-called intelligent data applications. And that kind of already summarizes super briefly what our value proposition is when we look at SAP HANA Cloud. I was saying we're trying to offer a platform that helps you solve data management challenges holistically. And that is being done by offering dedicated engines, and Shabana will talk about that in a few seconds, I guess in much more detail than I will. But basically our ambition with that dedicated engines is to support all data in the various fashions as it is existing out there. With the fact that we deliver SAP HANA Cloud as a managed cloud service, we can for sure also benefit from the great values added by cloud computing, and that is delivering data or data storage and processing capabilities at scale. So for every situation, we want to equip our customers with the best possible, let's say, and most efficient and cost-efficient solution to store and process their data. And that's been ensured by, let's say, having a super scalable and flexible cloud-managed database solution. Additionally, from what we support with HANA since many years, we give customers the possibility to not only handle analytical workloads, but also transactional workloads all in one system. And we're benefiting here, especially from our in-memory data processing capabilities, but also from, let's say, the overall architecture of HANA Cloud, and from the let's say combination of services that are coming together in that one single product. That one single product is delivered as a database as a service solution, as I mentioned, and that means we're taking definitely a big share when it comes to operating and providing the service to our customers. The responsibility for the true operations part is with HANA Cloud with SAP, and we're taking away these burdens from our customers so they can focus on the most important aspects, which is their applications, their enterprise logic being part of the applications, and how they basically handle the value which is within their data. As I mentioned, we also want to provide, let's say a platform which for sure gives you the possibility to extend SAP applications, but also to connect to external sources. And therefore, we have a rich connectivity framework being supported by smart data integration, smart data access, or other technologies that help you to basically connect to all data. And last but not least, being the foundation for SAP applications in SAP BTP, for sure, we are doing our best to make HANA Cloud a rock-solid foundation when it comes to offering a reliable platform that you can truly trust in for your enterprise-grade applications. So that's in a nutshell HANA Cloud, just a little bit of a recap. And as I was mentioning or walking through that value proposition, you've already seen some of the pillars being kind of reflected in those bullets. One for sure is our multimodal data processing capability area, and that's what we want to focus on today, especially with having also Shabana on the call, being our product expert for that area in particular. But I also mentioned the integration and the connectivity to various data sources, which is an important pillar of HANA Cloud, enabling you to easily create those new intelligent data applications. But there's two other also very important pillars that I want to mention, which are also indicated here on the slide, and that's our support for advanced analytics within the database platform. I was mentioning that HANA Cloud isn't only a platform that helps you to build transactional applications or sidecars to transactional applications, but it also offers integrated advanced analytical capabilities with our predictive analysis library or with our embedded machine learning. I'll go into a bit more detail on that in just a few moments, but that's certainly something which we should also keep in mind when we talk about HANA Cloud and the new capabilities you have with that service being your data foundation. And last but not least, I think what's also a super important aspect that you should be aware of is that HANA Cloud for sure is benefiting extremely from the core HANA values, talking about the in-memory data processing capabilities. But it is not only, let's say, consisting of these features, we're instead delivering also capabilities to store larger volumes of data and to process such larger volumes of data at a more reasonable cost than it might be associated with in-memory data processing. And that has been handled by our data lake, which is a super important addition to the service as it is existing. And therefore, basically also gives new capabilities that help you to tackle like these, let's say, large scale data scenarios where it's about storing larger amounts of data, but also processing them in an efficient manner, as you are, for instance, interested in lakehouse scenarios, or when it also comes to machine learning and predictive scenarios, where you just have to rely on a large volume of data for your specific implementations. I promise that we want to take a quick look at the area of embedded machine learning in HANA Cloud, and just to highlight a little bit what capabilities we have within the database. I think that's always important to stress. So when we say embedded, we truly mean that there is no need for individual dedicated systems for these sort of operations. That's definitely a unique value added of HANA Cloud. Same as with our multi-model capabilities, but I said I'm quite sure Shabana will say a bit more about that actually. So I'll be short on that. But basically, the same applies, as I mentioned, for the integrated machine learning features. And there's a lot of capabilities, as you can see. We've just tried to cluster and summarize them a little bit on the slide, talking about time series forecasting, classification of data, traditional regression analysis, but also more going into like areas like outlier detection. That's for sure something which we can tackle with HANA Cloud, and there's a lot of possibilities. So I can truly recommend taking a look at that, especially if you are interested in deriving more value out of the data than the obvious. And I think that's especially an area where there's a lot to gain from the capabilities of HANA Cloud. Now, last but not least, and that's kind of my handover to Shabana, I was mentioning multimodal data processing is one of the important capability areas of HANA Cloud. And I'm glad to have you with me, Shabana, and without like stealing too much thunder about the individual features, I would just like pass it on to you.
Thank you, Thomas. Let me quickly share the screen. And I think we can get started from where just Thomas left off. So I hope all of you can see my screen. Again, I'm also portraying something very much relevant to the multimodal processing that Thomas was literally talking about. That was a great introduction to HANA Cloud, but also this excellent feature that we have in HANA Cloud with respect to multimodal capabilities. So, and this is like one of the most effective approaches of positioning HANA Cloud with our customers in the frame of using HANA Cloud in the point of view called as the intelligent data applications. So simply put, these type of applications take full advantage of the database's advanced features like multi-tier data storage that Thomas was talking about, advanced multi-model engines, and the machine learning functionalities. So together, these key features enable solutions that enhance the user's experience and also the effectiveness. So coming to multi-model platform, SAP HANA Cloud always comes with all of its multi-model engines ready in place, like the spatial engine to store some location related data just alongside your relational data, and then graph engine, which would allow you to portray your relational data in the form of graph networks. And then comes the document store engine, which would allow you to store JSON documents just alongside your relational data. No need to convert them into relational tables or store them elsewhere and then bring them back into your relational database or so on. You can just place your JSON document store alongside your relational transactional data in the form of collections. And just add on top of all of that, we have a new addition to this multi-model family, which is this vector engine, which will also allow you now to store vectorized data, that is vector embeddings alongside your relational and all of this spatial graph and document store like data. So you can build solutions step by step with any combination that suits your needs. If only one is needed at the start, you need not like choose the rest of them. There is no opportunity wasted here, as this can be always altered at any time. If after a certain time another engine should be incorporated, this can be done easily. There is no need of like redoing of installations or operations or any administration related stuff. And also this integration is handled automatically by design, since all of these engines have the same platform basis with no need to transfer or transform data at any time. So it's like buying a puzzle box where you can fit the pieces at your individual pace to form a final picture while the individual pieces fit together naturally. So that is the value add of just having HANA Cloud as this multimodal processing layer for your intelligent data applications. Since we talked about this new addition, the vector engine, I just want to dive deeper into this new innovation, set the stage about what has been now, available in HANA Cloud with the release of Q1 2024, in the first quarter of 2024 to be precise. So we have introduced a new columnar data type that is real vector to store the vector embeddings natively in memory in SAP HANA Cloud. And alongside it, we have two new distance calculating functions to precisely say similarity calculating functions for the vectorized data. L2 distance, this method calculates the straight line distance between the data points in the vector space. Here, a lower distance indicates that the points are closer in the vector space and therefore they are highly similar. And then cosine similarity, this method compares the angles between the data points in the vector space. So here, a higher value signifies a greater similarity, indicating that the points are pointing in the similar direction within the same space. So these new functions, like we have been talking about, blend seamlessly with what we already know as SQL. So things like the casual joins or filterings or any other grouping that we have been doing, they just stay as easy as they have always been. There is not a lot of learning curve involved since it's all through SQL. So this is also boosting our motive of having a unified SQL layer for data access. As like other multi-model capabilities, vector capabilities in HANA Cloud can be used with the HANA ML Python client, giving the data scientist a way to work with HANA Cloud through their Python scripts. Also, SAP HANA Cloud Vector Engine now also works with the LangChain Python version, which means developers can already start building their intelligent data applications, which will now kind of embed the large language models in their applications. And also looking ahead, coming to the roadmap part, we are also simplifying the integration with SAP CAP model, which will eventually allow you to build intelligent data applications. So you can easily use vector data types on CAP, which is now already available via the beta version. So as to say, and in addition, this vector engine can be also integrated with the SAP Generative AI Hub. Uh, Through this, you can already leverage the large language model options that are hosted on the Generative AI Hub. So both of which is going to be a great combination to build intelligent data applications. And we're also working on to make LangChain plugins available for the Node.js side. And in Q3 of 2024, we will be introducing vector indexes to speed up the nearest neighbor searches even better. So we summed up all with vectors. I just want to finish up with a little bit of details on the value adds and one of the topmost use case that is possible now with the vector engine. So we already talked about the benefits in bits and pieces. We can, it's possible to run fast SQL searches because vector engine utilizes in-memory processing for the vector searches. And you can also combine vector data with other business information, right? The engine this way unlocks new possibilities for deeper data analysis and insights. And most importantly, we are providing that grounding in case of generative AI scenarios. When we talk about generative AI, these large language models are not the knowledge bases. They are not intelligent on their own. They always need some help to answer your questions in a better way. And that help in the sense is given in the format of vectorized data, which now could stay on SAP HANA Cloud, just as simple as that. And since this vector engine is also now integrated and is part of SAP HANA Cloud, customers can just reuse their existing authorization, which kind of simplifies the entire setup and security aspect of using SAP HANA Cloud. So finally, I just wanted to show a snippet of one of the best or one of the top most leveraged use case through this vector engine, which is retrieval augmented generation use cases, where consider that you kind of have business data that are in the form of, it could be text, audio, or images, or so on, which are further chunked based on their sizing. And these chunk data, when they flow through the embedding functions, they convert into vectorized format, which are the vector embeddings, which could be now housed onto SAP HANA Cloud. And also when this intelligent data application on the other side comes up with certain question, consider that you're working with a Q&A kind of a chatbot. So when a person throws in a question, that question should also be converted into question embeddings, or kind of vector question embedding, I would say. And then there is a performance of similarity search using a couple of these similarity search functions that we have introduced. And once the similarity comparison between this question embedding and all of the vector embeddings that, I mean, the business vector embeddings that you have on SAP HANA Cloud are compared, you get the best matches, which are fed as in details to these large language models. Like I already told, these large language models need some help to understand your business question in a better way. And that is what you're exactly doing in here. You're providing that extra help, extra context to your LLM, and then the LLM is now equipped to give you the best results that you're expecting out of your business system. And I think with that, that's all very exciting in SAP HANA Cloud now. So already I would say just get started and try your hands on with these new innovations. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
That's a perfect keyword, Shabana. And sorry, Tanya, I mean, just before we maybe jump into questions, and hopefully that also inspired our audience to already send in some questions related with the topics. But if you want to get started with HANA Cloud and also now experience these new capabilities, I think there's a lot of sources out there already, like the Discovery Center mission for retrieval augmented generation, a lot of resources linked to sap.com/HANA Cloud, and many other, which will definitely be a good read and hopefully also good guidance for you to get started. And we're happy to dive a bit deeper into one or the other resource available, if that's also like important for you, or if there's a specific area where you want to learn more about.
Great, thank you. So S4HANA, SAP HANA Cloud, sorry, S4HANA comes out automatically. Basically, I have to think about saying
that happens with many, no worries.
So it sounds really exciting, and offers a lot of things to our customers. And one question is actually, customers often decide against purchasing HANA Cloud because of its price. Can we expect to see a more affordable version of HANA Cloud in the future?
I think that's a very good and a very fair question. I can try to respond to that, and Shabana, feel free to add whatever you want to add. I think it depends a bit. Like looking at HANA Cloud, it's the one thing is price, the other part is value, right? As Shabana was explaining, and as I try to highlight, is with HANA Cloud for sure you're getting a relational database system, but a lot more in addition. Now, if you're just using HANA Cloud as a relational database system, you might consider as expensive. But I think you have to consider the bigger picture and also the opportunity that you're gaining with like processing specialized data types, as we just explained, and the fact that we're opening up a lot of opportunities. Now, to me personally, I wouldn't say it's necessarily pricey. Also looking at other solutions, but also looking at HANA Cloud in isolation. I think there's many possibilities actually interesting to optimize the price of HANA Cloud. One thing that I want to mention, for instance, is what we've introduced last year, which are the so-called performance classes in HANA Cloud. So meanwhile, in HANA Cloud, you have the possibility to configure your instance according to your workload. Now, what was typically driving cost also for customers is the fact that for sure being an in-memory database system, systems are typically provisioned with more memory in contrast to CPU. And that is something we've addressed. So now in HANA Cloud, you have the possibility to change the configuration ratio between CPU and memory, which will also have a super positive impact on the cost in case you're running more CPU intensive scenarios and you're not dependent on that much memory. But there's other scenarios where you are dependent on the memory, and then you can choose a different so-called performance class. So that's one means how you can already optimize cost. And we see actually a lot of customers benefiting from that. Then on other means how you can optimize cost, as mentioned, HANA Cloud isn't just coming with the in-memory capabilities. So especially if you're not demanding real-time data analytics, but rather a data platform which is capable to store larger volumes of data at a lower cost, then you can also, when looking at HANA Cloud, consider the data lake relational engine or our data lake file storage. So that depends for sure. Also a bit of rework maybe on the application side, rethinking the data architecture. But from my point of view, there's a lot in store with HANA Cloud that can address the feeling that it's pricey. The looking at maybe also like future developments, I can share that we're definitely looking into lowering also the smallest instance configuration sizes. But with 30 gigabytes of memory being the smallest size at the moment, I think we already have a very good entry level sizing, which resonates with many customers. But for sure, we're thinking about like even lowering that and reducing the kind of the barrier to enter, and also, let's say, to avoid any overhead for other customers. What I can state, and that's maybe also interesting, is there's always a free version of HANA Cloud available, which is our free tier entry point. So if also like you're in more of the experimental stage and you want to make yourself familiar with the product, you can actually do that for free and utilize the free tier or the free service plans for HANA Cloud. And then once you're going into a productive mode, you can convert the instance plan into a paid plan, and then therefore leverage the values in an unlimited fashion. So that was maybe a bit of a lengthy answer, but I think it's important to kind of differentiate the various angles. We're always focused on making HANA Cloud as cost efficient as possible, but there's a lot in the package. We are definitely already offering means to optimize, but there's also things in the plans which will definitely, always, where we always keep your feedback in consideration, and we're continuously working on cost efficiency.
Thank you so much, Thomas. I think that was really valuable information. So Shabana, when I introduced the vector engine to my user group, the first question was, are there any extra costs involved when using the vector engine?
No, absolutely not. So like we have been talking about multimodal processing, it's an embedded part of SAP HANA Cloud, right? And Vector Engine is just a new addition to this multimodal capabilities, and it does not incur any extra costs. So all you have to do to start using Vector is just that you have to upgrade yourself to the latest version of SAP HANA Cloud. That's the QRC1 2024 version. Once you upgrade yourself to that version, you should be able to start using Vector as like other multimodal engines, I would say. So our motive here is that we want to place everything on a single platform layer, right? On just one database, which feels like an all-in-one database where you can bring in any types of data. We talked about like spatial or graph, or just house them all together on SAP HANA Cloud with no extra cost. And also the best part is that these engines interact with each other seamlessly. There's no need to do a lot of transformation, like I was mentioning, not a lot of ETL efforts involved, not a lot of data duplication efforts involved. So it's just as simple, and you need not also rely on any third-party specialized databases, especially in the case of vectors. If you're already doing certain thing, then maybe you want to try out how vectorization and vectors work in HANA Cloud. It's all free of cost. You can already start using it. And it's also should be available through our free trial and free tier versions as well.
Hey, great. Thank you so much. We have questions in the chat. I think they're for you, Thomas. Are we able to use the administration panel for HANA Cloud from the instance created in BTP? And the next is as the, connected to this one, as the communication system pure tile and identity and access management was not visible.
I'll try to respond to your question. It's not 100% clear to me, but at least I can try to explain how you would interact with the system. So in HANA Cloud, you're interacting with the database, or your starting point is for sure the BTP cockpit, and in there we have two ways of how you can create your HANA Cloud instances. One is with a ribbon that you see on the left-hand side where it says HANA Cloud once you're entitled for the system. And that is kind of the entry point to the Cloud Foundry-based instance creation, which isn't necessarily our most recommended approach because it is very Cloud Foundry specific, but it is still a super valid one. Now, how we meanwhile recommend creating HANA Cloud systems is runtime independent, which means not via that ribbon on the left-hand side in the in the BTP cockpit, but via like the service instance menu that you're used to. And then you can create an instance of HANA Cloud, but also an instance of the administrative tooling for HANA Cloud. And when you do it that way, you get the latest version of the HANA Cloud tooling, which is basically covering all of the functionalities that are most important to work with HANA Cloud. And there, basically, you have the entire administrative capabilities. Now, to the detailed question on identity and access management, that's probably something we have to follow up, and I'm definitely happy to follow that up with you. My contact details, we will definitely share them at the end, but feel free to drop a message also to me, and we can double check on your specific question with regards to identity management and the fact that something wasn't visible there. That might depend on the configuration on your end, and maybe there was just on the BTP cockpit something missing. I hope that was at least partially addressing the question. And if you have a follow-up question, just drop it into the chat, and we can talk about it again.
Great, thank you very much. Another question that I received from my user group when introducing the information about the vector engine, Shabana. Question was, and I think that's of interest for our attendees here as well. How can they use the vector engine? Do they need to install anything?
No, like I was mentioning, there's not an extra installation that's needed. So once you upgrade yourself to this newer version, you already have that new data type that's allowed. We just talked about the new data type, real vector, right? So it's like any other data type that's sitting on HANA Cloud or the SQL layer. So once you're upgraded to this new version, this data type also gets enabled for you. And in that sense, there is no extra installation we are doing. All you have to do is just start using that new data type. And also this couple of functions that we talked about, they should also be involved with the QRC1 package. And you can also perform the similarity searches on that vectorized data using, just by upgrading, and then everything gets enabled for you automatically.
Thank you. Then we have another question. That one is referred to SAP HANA Cloud. How can our customers, user group members, but of course that goes for everyone, how can they consume SAP HANA Cloud, Thomas?
Yeah, a very fair question, and a super important one. I think from a technical process, I kind of gave the explanation of how you would get started. So once you're entitled for HANA Cloud, you would be basically accessing the service via the BTP cockpit. You would create an instance of HANA Cloud, you would create an instance of the administrative tooling, and then you're all set. Now, how do you come to the point of being entitled to work with HANA Cloud? One good starting point is using the free tier, as I explained. That's basically the easiest entry point for you if you're a private user, if you're not like entitled from the corporation's point of view. Probably if there's no environment provided to you, that's a super easy starting point. Now, if you are let's say a corporate user and you're basically you want to be entitled to access HANA Cloud, then your corporation needs to have a subscription for HANA Cloud, or alternatively have so-called SAP Cloud Platform Enterprise Agreements signed, which gives you credits BTP, and those can also be spent on HANA Cloud. Alternatively, there's also a pay-as-you-go price model, so super flexible. You only pay for what you really use once you're in productive use. And there's, as you can see, like multiple models for multiple levels of maturity, a free version to start off with, and then maybe the pay-as-you-go, which is very tailored to your actual consumption. And then there is a subscription model once you can really understand how your consumption will be over time, to also benefit from potential improved pricing here. So many different options, but a super easy starting with the free tier. And in addition to that, what we also have for HANA Cloud, even maybe before you consider the free tier and get your hands dirty on BTP, we have a guided experience for HANA Cloud, which is like a getting started tutorial that guides you through the actual environment. And that's also something which you can find on sap.com/HANA Cloud, where we have the access point to the guided experience. And I definitely recommend that if you want to make your first like steps with HANA Cloud, and also, by the way, learn about the multimodal data processing features that Shabana was talking about, because those are also part of the guided experience and the journey that you're walking through.
Thank you so much, Thomas. And actually, another question, when talking with user groups, it was, why did we introduce the vector engine? What was our motivation, our motive behind it? Can you share some insights into that? I think it would be of interest for all our attendees.
Sure. I would maybe pass it on to you, Shabana, because I think that's a perfect question for you, right?
Yes, so coming to the motivation point behind just having our own vector engine is that recently SAP HANA Cloud released out its generative AI strategy, right, where we want to enhance and help the businesses that are taking the AI route. So basically to motivate and support the business AI scenarios. And we also wanted our consumers to take advantage of this unified data platform itself, because you can just place the structural data, the transactional business data, the spatial graph, and all of this data on a single layer. So which is our motive of providing a unified database platform for our customers. And it kind of also extends support to this generation of relevant and accurate content generation. And we wanted to come into picture of where we wanted to help this AIs to come out of their hallucination zone. Like I was mentioning, when we are building an intelligent data application and it is embedding a large language model, though these things seem to be like very intelligent, they do not literally understand what is your business, right? At the end of the day, if you go and just ask an LLM about how does my sales look for the last year or the last quarter, it has no clue about your sales figures or your sales data, right? So you have to host your business data in the form of, in this example, the sales data somewhere, so that this LLM is aware of what kind of profit or what kind of things have happened on your business data. So that is where we bring in SAP HANA Cloud, where you can literally vectorize your sales data, house it on HANA Cloud, and then this HANA Cloud acts as the help, the context provider for this AI systems. And in that sense, the AI is not hallucinating anymore. It has relevant details to give you out that respective answer. And like I said, I just want to finish off by saying we want to position SAP HANA Cloud as a default database platform for the SAP's generative AI strategy overall. So I think that is our motive behind having the vector engine, and also we want to cut down a lot of efforts that happens on the customer side to just house data in a different place, because data in silos is always a problem, and we wanted to just solve that.
Yeah, super well summarized. I think maybe in addition to that, what is also like when we look at our user base for SAP HANA Cloud, and specifically also at the BTP user base, then we're talking about corporations creating enterprise-grade applications. And that's like a user group which is extremely sensitive to the entire topic of data privacy, data movement to external parties. We for sure want to provide a reliable, trusted, and secure environment for data in general. And all the data movement, which Shabana was referring to, can bring in challenges. That's like consistency challenges, it's data security challenges, it's the risk or the cost of data duplication. But now when you think about like generative AI, then currently for sure, like also the providers of large language models, they play a big role. And for sure they will continue to. That's not what I want to state, but you have to work with trusted parties. Now, for sure, those vendors or those suppliers of large language models, they are trusted parties, especially those SAP is working with for the looking at the generative AI hub and the integrations we have. But that's maybe the only part where you want to transmit your data. And for the rest, you want to rely on the whole same database platform as you're always relying on, right? Not necessarily introducing new, let's say, new players, which make it either more complex or basically could introduce risk. And that's something where we just wanted to, as I stated earlier, holistically respond to the challenges our customers have. And in addition, with regards to that security concern, when you think about applications being created on BTP, then typically these applications, they come up with an authorization model, a security concept, and that restricts end users to, let's say, only have access to the data that they are entitled for instance. Now, in the generative AI space, or when introducing generative AI solutions, you want to integrate the very same concepts also for your AI sort of processes. And if that's already like present in the database, you can easily do so if like also your vector store, which is interacting with the large language models, is considering such authentication and authorization models. And that kind of provides a lot of benefits of having that vector store all in one platform, as it does also with the other engines. And I think that was clearly our main motivation.
Perfect. So thank you both. As you can see, we have a little bit of a moderator switch. So this is to show that it is live, but I'll be happy to continue on with the questions. So we do have one in the chat, which I'm not sure maybe if we can answer now, or we maybe take it away and ask the experts. But one of our attendees is asking, so their employer uses Suite on HANA. And they want to know basically if they can make use of SAP HANA Cloud, and especially the vector engine functionalities, or if that's not part of the package. And yeah, so I don't know, Thomas or Shabana, if either of you can take that.
Yeah, I can at least at my point of view on how you would like address such a challenge. Like HANA Cloud is running solely in BTP, so that's maybe important to state. So we're delivering the service as a managed cloud service in BTP. And as a public cloud solution. Now, the question might include the angle of how would I connect such a system to my suite system, or how would I even maybe benefit from those capabilities in my suite system? Now, that in my system is not possible because Suite on HANA is not running on HANA Cloud. Instead, we would always recommend the clean core and extension approach via BTP. And that means you would create an application in BTP on HANA Cloud, utilize connectivity to your suite system by data replication, by virtual data integration, and then set up kind of a sidecar next to it, which would feature the vector engine. And that is our approach going forward. Now, initially for Gen AI, that might sound a bit, or for a Gen AI based use case, that might sound a bit challenging, but actually all the data integration mechanisms are well equipped to set up such processes to move the data, and then also kind of to orchestrate all the processes needed to prepare the data for like the work with a generative AI scenario. So that's roughly the recommendation. We can for sure follow up also with a bit more details on how you would integrate with those systems, because I think that might be the actual like main tricky point here.
Perfect. Thank you, Thomas. All right. And of course, the attendees can let us know in the chat if that more or less answered the question. If maybe they want further details, we can, I'm sure, find some links. We'll share also the community page for HANA Cloud later on in the chat, so everybody can access all the needed documentation and everything. So all the blog posts and everything nicely in one place. Maybe another question for the HANA Cloud Vector. So this is for Shabana. How compatible is SAP HANA Cloud Vector Engine with LangChain?
So yeah, we briefly touched upon the LangChain, integration already with respect to our roadmap, and I think we are already in a very good shape there. On the LangChain official website, you can find instructions of how you can already start integrating HANA Cloud Vector with the LangChain aspect of things. So we're just talking about LangChain. It is this plugin that would help the developers build their intelligent data applications or LLM-oriented applications, which kind of embeds this large language model into the application itself, right? So with just having LangChain, we have talked about certain things when I was showcasing on my slides, like if you have like huge documents or so, you have to first chunk them and then process them and then send them into vector embeddings and so on. There are a lot of these pre-processing steps that come into picture. And all of that could be like somehow handled through this LangChain plugin, because it provides functions for like maybe chunking and then streamlining your data so that it goes into the embedding functions in the right format or in the right sizing that you precisely want them to go in. So that is just an example of few of the functions that are available via LangChain that will fit perfectly with the vector engine. There might be more other functions that the developers can, leverage on top of it, because just building an intelligent application on top will have a lot of things involved. And so just to sum up, I believe just having a LangChain plugin work with your HANA Cloud Vector engine should be as seamless as using any other database, so as to say, to build your intelligent applications. And also we bring in the SAP Cloud Application Programming Model all under the BTP platform, I would say, because even I saw that SAP CAP also rolled out an extension for the LangChain side. So that way you have LangChain compatibility with the tool where you're building your application, and also the LangChain compatibility with the database on top of which you're building your application. So that kind of makes everything simpler, all under the same BTP family.
The same umbrella. Perfect. And also, like you were mentioning, I'm sure our community will let us know if there are other use cases or other uses of it. So let's take advantage of that and use the community.sap.com to create those discussions. Tag SAP HANA Cloud. You can tag our experts, and we can just kind of get the discussion going. And in terms of the CAP announcement, so the Cloud Application Programming Model, we also, and I'll share that in the chat as well, we also have the SAP BTP Developers Guide that gives concrete guidance on how we, let's say, recommend to build applications on BTP and deploy them. So that's also a very good resource that our customers can use. And maybe related to that, another question for Thomas in the chat. So you mentioned Clean Core a little bit earlier in our discussions, and we have a question. How can we maybe get customers that are in their transformation journey, so moving from ECC to SAP S/4HANA, how can we get them on SAP HANA Cloud? Is there maybe content, resources, or anything that we can share that would help them in these discussions and value props?
Yeah. A super good question, and I think I was kind of trying to give a bit of flavor to that aspect. So that's a fair one. Indeed, there is a lot of materials out there that describes how you can integrate from an SAP S4 system or even an ECC system with HANA Cloud. Now, no matter where it is actually being located currently, either on premises or in the cloud, either on ECC or on a newer stack with S4. For instance, we have just released actually a new adapter which helps you to connect to the ABAP layer of your, like, let's phrase it, suite system or your ERP system, and eases data integration, and not from the database layer underneath, but really from the ABAP layer where tables and views and structures are defined, which helps you also to consume the objects as ABAP and the business system is understanding them. So that's really handy and can help you to access your system directly. Now, I think one part of the question is on, or at least a little bit of the question is on the actual the transition from on-premise to the cloud. That is primarily an application transition. So here, the database, we're kind of trying to abstract the database from the users so that whenever you decide to go from ECC to S4, this is primarily an application transformation project or transition project, which is been led by the customer directly or in alignment with the S4 colleagues, for instance. But still, we're trying to make use of these same integration points as I just mentioned, no matter whether it's ECC or S4. So you can always build your extensions on BTP and HANA Cloud. So kind of there is no strict requirement for you to move over, but for sure, whenever you do that, you can rest assured that we also provide the same connectivity and the same additions and the same capabilities to build your clean core applications in HANA Cloud.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Thomas. All right. So there's another question in the chat, and there is, yeah, maybe again, we need to kind of follow up on this, but basically the question is, how are the cloud credits consumed in the CPA model for any RICE FW object or RICE FW object? I'm not sure if that's a HANA Cloud related question. I'm not really sure what a RICE FW object is, but if you guys don't know, then we could just take it back and answer then later in the community.
I am brutally honest, and I have no clue about these RICFW objects, but that is something which we probably can follow up on. But the question isn't necessarily irrelevant, because I think we can tweak it and try to respond to it for HANA Cloud, because I was mentioning that we have also the fact that we can bill against a cloud platform enterprise agreement and against the credits a customer might or an enterprise might already have. And in HANA Cloud, it's always based on the actual consumption. So we are like, it depends on what you really have provisioned, what you're using, what you're like, what you're kind of having under control, and we're not like building something which isn't associated to the actual usage. Now that means, for instance, even if your initial budget was saying that like you will need like 512 gigabytes of memory for HANA Cloud, but that at some point in time you decided to bring down the size, you're billed to the actual size of the database. And that is basically metered every single day, multiple times. So it's an hourly approach that we run, and it's super specific and super accurate. So it's truly as I mentioned, a pay-as-you-go approach, and there is no like aggregation or like averaging or something like that, which would then lead to a bill which is not reflecting what you actually use. So at least for HANA Cloud, it's super specific, but and I'm sure we will follow up to understand more what this abbreviation is all about, and hopefully can deliver an answer.
Perfect. And there's also, I was just reminded there is a new update on the BTP cockpit side. So we have a new costs and usage page that provides much more transparency and clarity as to how much consumption and how much, basically how much quota from your services and your entitlement is being consumed. So from an admin perspective, it's a lot easier to have a complete overview. So not just from, a HANA Cloud perspective, but all the services that you have entitled and enabled on your BTP account.
And in addition to that, for HANA Cloud, we even have a more in detail, let's say, consumption monitor in the pipeline. That's what we're planning to release in Q3, beginning of Q3, because with HANA Cloud, you have a lot of metrics, a lot of dimensions. As we want to make it that super specific to your usage, we also require a super fine granular pricing model and have a lot of metrics. And these metrics will be then highlighted more in detail with the actual consumption monitor, because the BTP cockpit is great, and that optimized tool is already providing a lot more details. But with HANA Cloud, we just need a little bit more possibilities to express even more details. And therefore, we have the consumption monitor as a tool coming up as well.
Perfect. So that actually reminds me that a great resource for everyone to know what's coming up is, of course, the Roadmap Explorer. And for example, SAP HANA Cloud is an individual tag, so you can filter out the innovations by SAP HANA Cloud, and you can check out basically the new features and everything that is planned for the following months and quarters. All right. So I'm just checking to see if we have anything open in the chat. I don't think so. I think you guys were able to answer all the questions, all the tough ones. Again, we will follow up on that abbreviation for that RICE FW object, which I've never heard of, and we'll get back in the community. But yeah, I think that was basically all the questions answered, and I saw some thank you messages in between, so you were able to answer everything perfectly. Thank you so much. Are there any closing words, any messages that you'd like to share with our audience? Maybe if they have to take away one thing from this call, what would that be for each of you? Thomas, you can go ahead and get started.
Oh, that's a tricky question. I think our audience can expect a lot more innovations coming up in the, especially in the multimodal data processing space. You should take away HANA Cloud as a package. I think that's what I would share as last words. I always like the picture of a Swiss Army knife, which is that's what HANA Cloud is. For sure, we can cut bread, but we can also do many other things. And that's what we try to explain today. In a little bit more detail, and try to familiarize yourself with those capabilities to see also which new value you can gain out of your data, because I think many of the features would just give you a lot of great possibilities.
Perfect.
Shabana, what's your one thing?
I'll just add on to what Thomas said. I think he summed up well. I just want to say one other thing. We just literally talked about this new innovation in today's call, right? So please feel free to familiarize yourself with the multimodal processing. Like Thomas said, they are a great package. And now that we have also the vectors, I know most of the businesses nowadays are looking forward to take this generative AI systems into their applications. So if you are someone already thinking of that, and SAP HANA Cloud is now a great opportunity for all of you guys to already try your hands on, do your testing POCs and so on with this generative AI, just jump onto that bandwagon and explore all of the innovations that we have for you. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, thank you both so much. I think with that, we can go ahead and close the call. It was fantastic listening to you guys explain the new features and innovations and also answering the questions. And again, a huge thank you to our audience for being so interactive and engaged. This doesn't have to stop here. Again, we have the community. We shared the link to the SAP HANA Cloud page specifically. You can start discussions, you can ask questions, go into the Q&A forum. Again, you can tag our experts or tag the topic, and I'm sure we'll have more interesting and engaging discussions moving forward. Thank you very much for joining, and until our next session.
Let's see, before
Thanks.
switching, perhaps quickly, I added the link to our next session, which adds to our today's session. So with further details, more insights, join our session on April 25th. I put in the link in the chat. You will see our experts again, can ask more questions if you have more questions came up. So definitely we're looking forward to seeing you on April 25th latest. Thanks very much. Thank you. A big thank you to our experts for joining, Ceci for jumping in, and to our attendees. Looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day. Have a great evening, depending on where you are. Bye-bye.